Oh, come on. There it is. Ten seconds, guys.
Main engine ignition.
Why do I have no audio?
Attorney General threatening legal action if the city of St. Louis goes forward with anti-rights plans and others. Now, here's the host of The Bullet, Paul Lathrop.
Well, that didn't work right. Let's try that again.
Welcome to the weekend edition of The Bullet for August 26, 2023. Your commentators this weekend are Tom Walls of the Firearms Academy of Seattle, Mike Piwowarski of Arms Room Radio and The Rundown, and Tony Simon of The Second is for everyone and diversityshoot.com. Topics tonight are scheduled to include SAF celebrating 49 years, gun control dying a slow death in Tennessee, the Missouri Attorney General threatening legal action if the city of St. Louis goes forward with anti-rights plans, and others. Now, here's the host of The Bullet, Paul Lathrop.
Yeah, it seemed to work that time. Hey, everybody, I am the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. My name is Paul Lathrop. Joining me today, as you heard in the promo, first up on my right, Tom Walls. Tom is the senior, do I have that right? You're the senior instructor at the Firearms Academy, Seattle?
That's not the title, but I'm one of the longest standing instructors.
Okay, so you're the senior citizen instructor.
That's probably closest to it, yeah.
Okay.
I know where you live.
All right.
Break the chops out the gate.
Down below Tom, we have Tony Simon. Tony is the guy behind diversityshoot.com. The second is for everyone, and is just... I always screw this up, so I'm going to try real hard to get it right this time, Tony. Pound for pound, the biggest gun buddy in America. Have I got that right?
Close. Pound for pound, the largest gun buddy in America. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. And down below me, the guy that needs no introduction, so I'm going to give him none, Mike Piwowarski. Mike is Arms Room Radio and The Rundown. Everybody, thank you for coming on the show. We do have a lot to get to today. I do want to mention as we get going, get your comments in, and we'll discuss them as the show goes on. And we've already got a lot of check-ins happening, and Warsaw Patriot has a comment that they're still trying to push for gun control in Tennessee. We've got a story about that. I think it's our second story of the night. Yeah, we've got a... Tom Knighton story off of Bearing Arms. We're going to be talking about that here in just a second. But, guys, let's go ahead and let's get started. Our first story, I'm going to classify this one as good news and good news going forward. This is off of the truth. This is a story off of the Truth About Guns, and it's largely a SAF press release. Here we go.
Today marks the 49th anniversary of the founding of the Second Amendment Foundation, an organization which has become a powerhouse in firearms rights litigation, with significant victories all over the map, including a landmark Supreme Court ruling in 2010, McDonald v. City of Chicago. As the saying goes, noted SAF founder and Executive Vice President Alan M. Gottlieb, we've come a long way. But we still have a long way to go in our mission to win firearms freedom one lawsuit at a time. Right now, the SAF staff, a small but dedicated group based in a two-building complex, is planning for the 38th Annual Gun Rights Policy Conference, GRPC. This year's event will be held September 22nd to 24th in Phoenix, Arizona for the two-day event, which attracts hundreds of gun rights activists and leading Second Amendment advocates from around the country. Attendance at the GRPC is free, and to pre-register, sign up at saf.org/GRPC. SAF's litigation efforts began with 2 early court victories, challenging a ban on handgun sales in New Haven, Connecticut, and an outright ban on handgun ownership in San Francisco, California. Those were 2 key lawsuits we won, and that was just the beginning of something which has grown into an organization we can proudly say represents and protects American gun owners and their right to keep and bear arms, Gottlieb observed. Since then, SAF has filed more than 250 lawsuits and currently has 50 legal actions filed in court defending Second Amendment rights. In addition, the Second Amendment Foundation's Legal Preemption Project has removed over 600 local anti-gun rights laws off the books simply by threatening to go to court. Adam Kraut, a practicing civil rights attorney based in the Philadelphia area, and who came on board late last year as SAF's executive director, is excited and planning for the future, which includes a bigger 50th anniversary celebration in 2024. We're living in challenging and exciting times, Kraut said, and I am glad to be a part of this organization. What SAF has accomplished with a veritable skeleton crew over the past 4 decades only signals what we have on the horizon as we continue to expand our legal footprint. We're just getting started.
I love the history of the SAF. I especially love what Adam Kraut said. We're just getting started. We are coming up on Gun Rights Policy Conference here in a few weeks. Take a peek at the calendar. We're looking at
4 weeks away.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks from today. There will not be a show because I'll be doing about 10 hours of live GRPC broadcast. I'm really looking forward to that. Guys, I think every one of us. Tom, have you been to Gun Rights Policy Conference?
No, not yet. It's literally on the bucket list.
Okay. Well, I know Mike's been there. Mike spoke. Tony, you've been there. Tony has not been to GRPC.
I've spoken, but I haven't been.
Oh, that's right. I remember putting your video up. Okay, there we go. Well, shows everybody how prepared I was for the show today. Guys, what we've accomplished in 49 years, I'm going to say, and I'm glad I have several members of the NRA board of directors that are friends. I'm glad none of them are in the air right now. I'm going to say in the legal arena, what SAF has done over the last 49 years has blown what NRA has done in the legal arena straight out of the water. Let's see. Any of you guys want to jump in about the anniversary quick?
I was just looking behind the computer. I'm at my wife's, Diane's, workstation. She's got a better one. And I'm looking at her life membership to the Defenders Club of the Second Amendment Foundation. And I went down to the date, which is 2013. I'm thinking, wow. We've both been life members for this long. She used to work for SAF for their written publication, Women and Guns, and wrote for them. And just to see the stuff that's been done, you know, it's almost that righteous rage. You're not going to get away with this. And here the SAF has gone ahead and done that. I'm proud to be a member of that organization.
And matter of fact, when I started with SAF, I made the pilgrimage to the Washington offices, to that 2-building complex they have. And I had, for 2 weeks, I had an office. And in that office was the entire back history of everything that SAF had published, including the Women and Guns, including the Weekly Bullet, which is now, you know, the name of this show. There was all kinds of everything that they had published in this office that they let me use. There was, and it's cavernous, the amount of paper that was in there. So that was stunning. Let me get this one up. Charlie Chambers says, lifetime member here since 2013, SAF and NRA Grassroots, North Carolina. And I don't know who this is, but...
Paul. Oops, sorry.
Go.
I was just going to tell you, Paul, what amazes me about the GRPCs, having been fortunate enough to have been to the in-person ones. You sit there for, 8 hours on Saturday and you listen to some of the most incredible people in the gun rights industry talk. And then, you do more than half a day of it on Sunday. But Saturday always gets, Friday always gets, because you're sitting there, you're listening to people, and then you go to break, you go to lunch, you go to, you finish for the day, and then you go sit out in the lobby, or you sit out in the bar, or you sit out everywhere, and you're talking to everybody. It doesn't matter if you've come and this is your first time and you want to be involved and just sit and watch these speakers. If you're not one of those people that just runs to their room at the end of a conference and you hang out a little bit, you're in the conversation. You're at the table with the people that are deciding and coming up with these policies and taking them back to their home states or to the federal level with them. You get to be part of making the difference and lending them your thoughts and ideas as they're putting it together. It's really amazing. It's just all inclusive. You show up, you get to watch, you get to take home. I don't know how Alan does it. $40 or $50 worth of books for free every year. And you're there. You're sitting at the table with Dick Heller. Just having a drink and then discussing the situation. You're there with everybody involved. The guys from New York State Rifle Pistol Association talking about brewing. And you're up there on stage, or you're watching people on stage, or if you're fortunate enough to speak, you're there and people are listening to you. It's an absolutely amazing thing. Even if it's your first time and you think, man, I want to go do this, it's worth every penny. And not to be punny, because you don't pay to go to GRPC. There's no fee for it, but it's worth everything you put into it to go and be part of this.
My very first GRPC was in 2012 in Orlando, and I'm seeing all these people up on stage. I'm listening to these people, and it's just exactly what you're talking about, Mike. I'm out in the lobby outside after it wraps up Saturday night, and Alan Gura, the attorney that argued the Heller decision, comes and sits down next to me, and over saunters to come over to talk to Alan Gura, Alan Gottlieb, and they're sitting there having a discussion, and they include me in this discussion. I'm this little tiny podcaster that at the time I think I maybe had 10 listeners. So it converted me for life. I mean, obviously I work there. I have to go there now because I broadcast it. But even if I didn't have to, I'd be there.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and say I was one of those 10 listeners to your podcast. Being a part of GRPC was amazing because I watched it. I followed it. I'd watch people that eventually became my friends speaking at this event. And you had the who's who of Second Amendment advocacy. And you had people setting forth policies and everything else. And it was really cool to be able to watch it live and then to be able to speak there, to be invited. Both of them were remotely, unfortunately, but still, I got to be a part of it. And I was really honored. And now to look back at how far you've come and who you have running it. I mean, you have my friend Adam Kraut, who's helped me out with Diversity Shoot, like years ago, like 8 years ago. Adam helped me with that. And to see how far the entire thing has moved, and to realize that I've been in that room and I've sat at those tables, and many of the people that are there are friends of mine, and we're all in the same fight for the rights of all Americans. It just makes me feel good inside to be a part of it and to have been a part of it. So I'd like to thank everybody that's helped me out and been in this fight with me. Especially, man, this thing started with you guys 49 years ago. That's just pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like 20 years away from being. I was 20 years before I was born. So anyway,
Yeah.
Get
let
that
me.
metric.
Yeah, metric time, exactly. Metric time. Let me get this. This is something that did not make it to the rundown for the show today. So let's go ahead and get this comment up. Massachusetts Goal Rally tomorrow, 2 to 6 p.m. Carrie Ann Auclair, Holly Sullivan, Amanda Suffolcool, and more. Yeah, if you're in or around Massachusetts or within driving distance, like, say, in New Jersey, not that I know anybody in New Jersey that might be on the panel. If you can get there, get there. It's going to be a great event, and numbers matter when it comes to things like rallies. Oh, okay. This is Charlie Chambers, and Charlie, I don't deserve people like you. Paul Lathrop, you're a wonderful 2A celebrity. I don't know about that. And you all provide great intellectual ammunition. Thank you, a fan. All right, let's, guys. That's a bit much. So let's go ahead and move on. Seriously, I don't consider myself a celebrity of any variety. Let's talk a little bit about Tennessee. I've got this one up from Bearing Arms, again, Tom Knight, an article. Let's get this, play this, and we'll talk about it.
Tennessee Republican lawmakers hit an impasse Thursday, just a few days into a special session sparked by a deadly school shooting in March, leaving little certainty about what they might ultimately pass, yet all but guaranteeing it won't be any significant gun control change. After advancing a few bills this week, the Senate quickly adjourned Thursday without taking up any more proposals, promising to come back Monday. The announcement prompted booing and jeers from the crowd of gun control advocates watching in the galleries. Meanwhile, the House is continuing to churn through a full slate of other proposals, and the Senate has not promised to take any of those up. Senate Speaker Randy McNally told reporters Thursday that senators will consider any bills the House may amend, but held off from promising to making a compromise with the other chamber. "We might be here for too long of a period of time. We're waiting to see what happens in the House," McNally said.
And Tom does go on in his article to explain why he thinks that everything truly is dead in Tennessee. This was a non-starter from the start. Tennessee, what was it? I think it was 2 years ago Tennessee put through permitless carry. There's certainly, they haven't had enough turnover in their legislature to put forward any radical gun control laws like the people booing the Senate when they adjourned. There's not the votes there. There weren't the votes there this spring. There aren't the votes there now. So, Mike, you got any thoughts on this, man?
You're right. Listen, it does not appear as though it's going to get anywhere, and I think everybody sitting here has seen that and known that if you've paid 5 minutes attention to it. But the left's control the narrative on this. Every time that they stand up and say that they want to, ban this gun or ban this or enact this new law, and they cite the school shooting there, the narrative is that they're winning and that we're losing in Tennessee and that we're losing gun rights. And I think, even though in Tennessee we may not be, but it's the perception that, as far as everybody else is concerned, we've lost in Tennessee, and then I think that gives the momentum to other gun grabbers to start going out there and being a little more, outspoken and aggressive. So I think even though we know that we've won, we need to continue to cover this and let people know that you have it. And the people have spoken, and they've said, no, we're not giving up our firearms, and we're not giving up any more of our rights, and you're putting out lies. So this is what we need to be doing. What the four of us are sitting here right now and talking about, that Tennessee was never seriously at risk. There was always concern, right? We always do that, and we'd always have to pay track. Never turn your back on it, because then you get that middle of the night New York and New Jersey stuff, But it's a good victory in Tennessee, and we all need to continue to let everybody know.
I don't think the intention in Tennessee at all was to pass anything. I think that they knew that they had, a snowball's chance in heck.
Right.
it seems to me that they wanted to be perceived as going, we're trying to do something, and those redneck people on the other side are blocking us because they're meanie poo-poo heads. See how virtuous we are, because we're trying to do something. And if you give me your vote, we'll try even harder next time. That's the strategy. And how do you counter that? That's what we have to figure out.
Well, my issue is, didn't the Tennessee governor himself call for this?
Yes, he did.
All right. That's my issue. No one gets a pass. If we're going to work hard as gun owners, if we're going to work as firearms owners to end gun control, we have to make it political poison. Anytime anyone talks about compromising and stepping across the line when it comes to things like this, especially in the state that has permitless carry, you need to shut them down. You need to shut them down and have them looking for a job next election. It's just what we have to do. The time for gun owners to actively get involved, to join local groups, if not join local groups, at least pay attention and testify. We have to make these people understand there's a price to be paid when they even walk in the room and sit down at the table to have a conversation about gun control. Sorry, but it does. They have to know there's going to be a price to be paid.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is at least one House member in Tennessee. I remember we did a story about him just as the special session was getting going last week. He said, well, I'm a gun owner, but I don't think we need AK-47s, and I don't think this and that. And we can't put that forward because that's not what's in this special legislative session's schedule. So but that's unfortunate. So, and big shock, there's somebody in his district trying to primary him when he comes up for re-election, and I think the challenger is going to be successful.
Yes. Let me go ahead and say this real quick. Rhinos are our enemy. Anyone who's willing to have a special session so they can talk about taking your rights away, it's got to go. I don't care what he has behind his name, R, D, or an I.
Yeah.
They have to go.
Yeah, I want to get a couple. Going back to the celebrity thing, I gotta get a couple comments in here. Mark Hookham says, "Wow, I know celebrities," and then Spartan 6. Wait, I just got here. Paul's a celebrity now. Well, there are several girls named Kardashian that became celebrities, so I wouldn't hold that in a real.
Now Paul's a Kardashian? Wow.
I'm not judging, man. I'm not judging.
Let me get this one up. Daggone it. Well, there we go. This one, Warsaw Patriots, Tom. Their goal is to push for national assault weapon ban. It's so crucial why in Illinois State and California we overturn them to stop pushing more BS. Yes, and again, I this is going to sound like a promotion for Second Amendment Foundation, and I guess in a way it is. We have active lawsuits in Illinois, in California, in Maryland, trying to knock down these assault weapons bans. There are 50 plus federal lawsuits against states right now the SAF has going. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but I do know those three specifically about assault weapon bans that are active in the federal courts right now.
Including my home state of Washington. The liberals in the Seattle area have done it. I walked into one of my favorite local gun stores just a week ago and looked at the wall, and there are no semi-automatic rifles.
Yeah.
That one's ridiculous.
And I seen what you commented, Tony. You I seen that.
I haven't met you in person. Hey, listen, all I've been is watch GRPC online, so I'm going to have to check it out just to be sure.
Okay, here we go. Brooke says, "Pimp your stuff, Paul. The rest of you join SAF." I love that, Brooke. I love that. All right. And by the way, I'm going to pimp Brooke's stuff. In about 35 minutes, Brooke is going to be going live with her suicide prevention Saturday. As soon as we go dark, you guys need to go over and tune into that. I'm going to do my best to be out of here on time. In order to do that, we need to talk about Missouri.
Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey put St. Louis City Mayor Tishora Jones on notice this week after she announced plans to introduce legislation that would prohibit military-grade weapons on city streets and make it a crime for insurrectionists and those convicted of hate crimes to possess firearms.
Okay, I got to stop this there just a second. Let me go into that. It would make it a crime for insurrectionists and those convicted of hate crimes. Okay, convicted of hate crimes. Let me start with that. I hate chocolate pudding. Okay, I do not like the mouthfeel, and I certainly, most of them, I hate the taste. So I could be convicted of a hate crime for that, possibly, because I hate, and I admitted it on a national program that I hate something. And I own guns. I own multiple AR-15s. Does that make me an insurrectionist?
Well, is there a legal definition for insurrectionist for those statutes? I've said this before. I will beat this horse until it comes back to life again. They're going to get us on definitions. They did it here in the state of Washington. Assault weapon, we could spend a lot of time going over what we know that is not. And they defined it as any centerfire semi-automatic rifle. That's now an assault weapon, and they'll get us with these emotional terms, and they'll go to the uneducated people that don't do guns for whatever reason. It's their right as Americans not to want guns, but they're going to impose that on us by using emotional terms and telling us horrible things about chocolate pudding. You un-American son of a gun.
She goes after stuff in here. Listen, insurrectionists being one of them. By the way, clearly that's a shot at Trump supporters, right? Nobody, by the way, has been convicted of insurrection, of sedition, of treason for the tourist event on January 6th a few years ago, and everything else that she lists in here are things that, for most part, laws already exist on. She's trying to create new ordinances down at the city level to get rid of these, prohibit military-grade weapons. So no muskets, I guess. We can't have any brown Besses or anything like that. So you can't have any. Glock was created for the military, so we can't have those. Berettas can't have those for the military. Those are all military-grade weapons right there. Prepare St. Louis for the passage of Blair's Law. Blair's Law says you can't use a firearm to commit an illegal act with. So she wants to create a law that says you can't use a gun illegally. I think that's already the law.
You can't use a gun to commit a crime. Is that what Blair's Law is? It's
Blair's Law says you can if you use a firearm illegally, then it's a crime. You can have your firearm as long as you don't commit a crime with it. It's very strange. It's a West Coast thing.
Double secret probation.
Yeah. And then we could get into ghost guns, but we'd spend the next hour on that. Tony's itching to jump in, so I'm going to let him.
Okay, look. This is more deeper than that. This is I had to pull up some Malcolm X over here. And he identifies liberals as the most dangerous and deceitful thing in the Western Hemisphere. They're like liberals are a fox, which, unlike a wolf, deceives its prey. This woman is talking about what is it? Insurrectionists. That's not the problem in St. Louis. That's not where your violent crime is coming from. So stop acting as if somehow you're passing this law to stop people from overthrowing the government of St. Louis. You are using deceitful means to try to get people to agree to giving away their civil rights and their ability to defend themselves. This is typical anti-gunner tactic to use lies, to use fear, to use hyperbole, to get you to sign your rights away while effectively doing nothing about the problem that you do have, which is crime, which is gangs, which is unemployment, which is a bad educational system, which is defunding the police, which is less law enforcement on the street to enforce the laws, which are courts not locking people. All of that stuff has contributed to St. Louis problems, and they have nothing to do with ghost guns. But as long as she can paint it as it's not my fault this is happening, the evil people at the state capitol won't allow us to use common sense gun control to stop these problems. She can pass the buck about her own failure as an administrator. And that's what all of this is. And if you're...
Can she, though? Because look at Lori Lightfoot in Chicago.
Lori Lightfoot passed everything off. And you go, oh, well, look at her. They hired another idiot that's even more of an idiot than her. So they haven't learned their lesson at all. And I don't think St. Louis will either. And I think there are a buttload of people that will fall for her crap. She's a failed administrator. St. Louis is where it is because is there a large Republican contingent running St. Louis that are blocking her her progress? No, there's not. This is all on them. It's blue cities failing the people that live in the cities, and they're trying to blame others for their own failure. And sadly, people will believe it because their ability to critically think is not there, and news programs will not show the other side. So you hear nothing but the same thing over and over again in your social circles and from your media networks, even online. If you are a liberal that's on Twitter, you will not see someone making the other argument. They won't even show it to you. Same thing on Facebook, same thing on Instagram. So yeah, they get you in your vacuum and your political vacuum, and you hear the same thing over and over, and nobody goes, wait a minute, who's stopping her from solving these problems? Unemployment is not a gun problem. Gang is not a gun problem. Carjackings, not really a gun problem. Gun is a tool they use, but that's not the problem. So yeah, it's garbage, and they're using this to take our civil rights away. And what I try to tell people, regardless of their race, regardless of their party, regardless of anything, is they're trying to fool you. The only way they can do it is to trick you, because using logic, they're going to lose every time.
And they're going to
so they call a lie. Yeah. So again, they changed the meaning. They call a lie common sense.
I want to get 2 comments in here quick, then we're going to go to Tom. Warsaw Patriot up first. I guarantee freedom of religion, freedom of the press, and speech is next on the list, Tony. I'm afraid of that could happen. Look at us now. And then Warsaw Patriot, Spartan 6 said, Warsaw, it won't be in that order. It will be speech, press, religion in that order after 2A. I think Spartan 6 is onto something there. Tom,
I think Spartan 6 got the tense wrong. It's like that now.
Tom, what are your thoughts on this, man?
It's going to be simultaneous, maybe some a little faster than others. I say they widely because at the academy we're getting more people we would consider non-traditional students. We're getting people of different political bents. We're getting, all the skin colors. We're getting all the social backgrounds, and they're just seeing crime going up. But the folks that are on the other side, just to put it nicely, are appealing to emotion, and they get competitive because they're being virtuous. And I call it competitive virtue. So if you're against that and that's bad, I'm going to be more against that, and I'm going to scream louder and be more histrionic. And the press just eats that stuff up, no matter who's running the press, because it sells airtime, and airtime is how they make their salary. They have to make an interesting story, so they're going along with it. And then if their directors are propagating that, or at least encouraging it, or sending more news people to cover a live event, it's, as I've said, it's the definition, get people whipped up. How can you not be against an assault something? Why do we need a military-grade weapon on the street? Without defining these, because frankly, I get people in a class that don't understand how a cartridge works for their pistol. It's a matter of education. It's a matter of these folks not growing up the way we did, or certainly living the way we do, surrounded by people like us that understand responsibility, that understand that the right to determination that have the ability to disagree with other people agreeably. You look at any Facebook post with an argument with, I'll put it loosely again, those folks, and they get to name calling almost immediately. It's an ad hominem attack. You get with our folks and we say, look, I think red dots are stupid. You think they're great? Okay. By the way, whose turn is it to buy lunch this afternoon? We can move on with that. They're not like us because they're not used to civil discourse. They're not used to critical thinking.
And I'm going to go to you, Mike, in just a second. But Tom, generally, if one person thinks red dots are great, one person thinks red dots are stupid, well, here, try it. The other person picks it up, and they get to decide for themselves whether they're great or they're stupid. Sometimes minds are changed. Yeah,
it's education. Oh, these assault weapons are terrible. What are the numbers, and what is that number in context? Where do these numbers come from? A study? Who did the study? Is that Langan guy down south with those numbers that can't be reproduced and data that he won't share? There's so many ways to counter that, but we have to go to the trouble of educating ourselves to have those answers in our hip pocket so we can bring those up in a reasonable manner without being histrionic like they are. We have to de-escalate them, as it were.
Mike, your thoughts?
I want to say that in Missouri they have a preemption statute. And that, folks, if you don't know preemption statute, it means that the state legislation there has said that they are the only ones that create firearms statutes in the state. Nobody else gets to make them in any sub-levels of government. So that's it. And the Attorney General has come out. The governor came out also. The Attorney General came out in writing and said exactly that. He said, listen, you don't have the authority. You're wasting time. You're wasting taxpayer money. I think what needs to happen, and it's got to happen somewhere, it's the only way we're going to see this stop. Missouri has a fraud, waste, and abuse statute. If this city mayor and these aldermen pass these ordinances, they need to get subpoenaed by the state house. They need to have the sergeant of the arms drag them before the state house and the speaker and answer for their crimes. I mean, it's fraud, waste, and abuse. I know that typically these these city council, the city aldermen, and the mayor, they get to sit behind the absolute immunity clause where they can't get charged with violation of the Constitution, because that's exactly what they're doing by doing this, is violating their state constitution and state laws. We need to apply the same immunity clause to them that we do to our law enforcement personnel with qualified immunity. What's that mean? It means you're protected as long as you don't break the law. You break the law and it's fair game. Well, guess what? They're about to break the law. They've announced they're going to break the law, and the state needs to bring them before their house to answer for it.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I'm right there with you, Mike. If there's no penalty for doing wrong, and you get elected to a office like alderman in St. Louis or mayor of St. Louis, and apparently that you're at that position where there's no penalty for breaking the law, they're going to break the law.
You mean like shoplifting?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a perfect example out west. Yes, absolutely.
Here's another example that bothers me. You're in St. Louis. You're going to pass this law. Who do you think going to be affected by it? Is it going to be black people? Yes. So how do you say that there's too much, that there's what's systemic racism in the system when you're going to pass a law that affects mostly people of color if you enforce it? So which way is it going to be? Because you're the system at this point, and you're passing new laws with vague terms. Do you think it's not going to be used against people? And it's not going to be used against gangbangers. It's going to be used against people that are trying to defend themselves. These happen to be people that look like me, that have gone through every step that you need to carry legally, and now you're going to come after them because they have weapons of war, some other silly term you use, which you seem to forget the police have these same firearms in the same streets. And by the way, I see them first as the citizens.
They have them, you're absolutely right, but they have them under different terms. They're called patrol rifles. They're not assault weapons.
Magically, when I was working as a reserve officer, I had my privately owned weapons that were sanctioned by my department. When I got to the station and put on my uniform, my assault rifle became a patrol rifle. with no other changes. It just transmogrified, and the reverse coming home. I don't get it, man. There's some magic going on, and nobody's explaining to me how it works.
You didn't have to sprinkle any magic dust on it or anything like that to change it, or
Dust. Yeah.
Did they at least have to like take their glasses off like Superman? Like it became Superman? Did you change your sling out or something?
No, it was a blue uniform and Kevlar underwear that did it. I worked for a couple of years more, but yeah, and they would have provided me one if I did not have my own. But it's this, again, dead horse beating this terminology thing they're getting us with these emotional things. You know, the shoulder thingy that goes up. The bump stop wrist brake that makes it a bigger caliber automatic weapon, full stuff. And if we don't continue to mock them and call them out on it to show that they don't know what they're talking about, people won't ask questions. They'll go, oh, okay.
Well, nobody should have that 9mm lung blower outer ammunition. I mean,
true.
Sorry.
Ultimately, the people of St. Louis are going to lose here because it's their tax money that's getting used to pass these ordinances. It's their tax money that's going to get used to fight with the State House, to fight with the Attorney General. So while they sit there and think this is a good thing that's never going to come to fruition, by the way, it's their tax dollars that are getting thrown out the window. Hence, the ability to use the fraud, waste, and abuse statute to go after them.
I think that's
always,
a good
I really agree.
We could always go Robert's route here. Robert has a comment. Make tar and feathers great again.
That's a petroleum product. That's unfriendly to the planet.
Well, you
It's
know,
even better.
tasers are electric, so you know, yeah, you could get those powered by wind and solar. So there you go.
Edison medicine, wonderful stuff.
We're running out. I'm going to do our stories in reverse order. I'm going to go to our last story next, and if we have time, we'll get back to the other story. But I want to get to this last story first. This one comes from thefederalist.com.
A new bill from Republican Representative Chip Roy of Texas would keep Biden administration bureaucrats at the Department of Veterans Affairs, VA, from meddling with veterans' Second Amendment right to buy and own guns. The legislation, introduced on Friday by Representatives Roy, Eli Crane of Arizona, Lance Gooden of Texas, Andrew Clyde of Georgia, Andy Harris of Maryland, and Mary Miller of Illinois, specifically bars the VA from sending veterans' names to the Department of Justice to be added to the federal government's no-gun list. Currently, the VA forces any veterans who want to appoint a fiduciary to manage their benefits to risk losing their Second Amendment rights. The expressed purpose of the fiduciary program, according to the VA, is to protect veterans and beneficiaries who are unable to manage their VA benefits through the appointment and oversight of a fiduciary. At no time during the fiduciary evaluation process does the VA determine if a veteran is a danger to himself or others. Yet, any veteran who is deemed unable to manage their benefits on their own by the VA is automatically barred from purchasing or owning firearms or ammunition. Their names are distributed to the FBI's National Instant Criminal Background Check System, NICS, which federal firearm dealers use to determine a person's eligibility for a gun purchase. There, veterans with fiduciaries are placed in an adjudicated mental defective category that indefinitely neuters their Second Amendment rights. FBI data from 2023 shows that nearly 98% of the names placed in the NICS mental defective category by federal agencies were handed over to the FBI by the VA. You may be fined and or imprisoned if you knowingly violate this law, the VA warns. A memo released by House Veteran Affairs Committee Chairman Mike Bost notes that the decision to name a fiduciary and disarm veterans is often made by VA General Schedule employees, not a court or similar judicial authority. There is an appeals process for veterans who want relief of firearms prohibitions imposed by the law, but whether or not that relief is granted is once again determined by the VA. The committee estimates that hundreds of thousands of veterans and their family members have been denied their constitutional right to bear arms based on the judgment of low-level bureaucrats. America's heroes should never have to fear losing their God-given right to self-defense simply for seeking the care they have earned in the process of protecting our republic, Roy told The Federalist. Yet, Instead of focusing on securing the border or defeating foreign enemies like China, Democrats are set to take aim at our veterans' Second Amendment rights. I am proud to take a stand for our veterans with this legislation and to fight to prevent the Biden administration from infringing on their fundamental human rights to bear arms in self-defense.
Good on this on this congressman for introducing this law. I think it's got a good chance of clearing the House. I think it's got maybe a 30% chance of clearing the Senate. I think there's a 0.000% chance of Biden signing the thing. Look, if all you've got to be is a veteran and bad with money to lose your Second Amendment rights, man, I can think of all kinds of Marines with ex-wives that are former strippers that are in deep trouble.
Yeah. How about service members that are good with money, Paul? They're so good with money that they hire somebody else to handle it for them. How about that? Because that's the same thing. I got myself a consultant to work on my portfolio. I've signed over my fiduciary rights to an accountant, and guess what? Now I'm losing my rights. This is despicable, absolutely despicable, the way that this administration, and it started with Obama and with Holder and their plans, and now it's being picked back up by Biden and his administration. The things we do to veterans, and I'm sure everybody on this panel and everybody watching the video right now has thanked a veteran or knows veterans and treats them with gratefulness for the things that they've done for this country. For this administration to go after those that have served in combat or those that at a minimum have written a check to give it up, all of it, and maybe never just got called to go serve overseas, to say we're going after them, it reminds me of what Hitler did in the 30s, right? How can I get the people's way and get them to agree with what I want as the government? I know I'll take away the valid statements of those that are educated, those teachers, those politicians, those doctors, those lawyers, and now they're doing the same thing here. Let's take the word out of the veterans' mouth so they can't. They have no choice to help influence what's going on in our country. That's the same thing what they're doing to veterans here as Hitler did in the 30s.
Well, and I love one more thing. I want to make a comment that going to the last quote from this story. Yet instead of focusing on securing our border or defending foreign enemies like China, Democrats are set to take aim at our veterans' Second Amendment rights. I'm proud to take a stand for our veterans with this legislation and to fight to prevent the Biden administration from infringing on their fundamental human rights to bear arms in self-defense. I agree with that, but take self-defense out of there. To bear arms for whatever purposes they darn well please. For collecting, for target shooting, for whatever. There is no right of self-defense written in the Second Amendment. It's the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period.
I have an issue with this whole bill because I look at it as another publicity stunt by this guy. Sorry, but he's the head of the Veterans Affairs. Let me explain something. This is just one thing veterans need help with. Why don't you collect it all, since that's your job, and bring them all together and put it in one bill so it's more impossible for them to shut down as a gun bill? Why don't you include a lot of the other issues that veterans have with the VA and put it in one bill so now you play the game they play? You play the game they play, and you play on the emotional thing. And you go, well, don't you want veterans to get help? And this is just a part of that. This is just a Second Amendment bill for the veterans, and these people will vote against it at the drop of a hat. Like you said, it won't pass and Biden won't sign it because you've made it into a gun thing. Why don't you make it into a healthcare thing and many other issues that veterans have? Put it in one bill. Make an omnibus bill to help us out. Let's do that. You made it one thing so you look good. Now, it'll be shot down, but you'll talk about the great thing you did when you run for election. And those damn Democrats, anti-gunners, shut it down.
Well, that's just a flip of what we... Yeah, you're right. That's just a flip of what we were talking earlier.
Because they are, let's get together, politicians, and that's what they do.
I'll put this forward. You shut it down. I look like I did something. You look like a hero to your constituency. I look like one to mine.
You got it, Tony.
Veterans are still screwed over.
You got it.
Mike, I know you're a veteran. What's your thoughts on this one, man?
Yeah, Tony's absolutely right. Let's have a comprehensive veterans help act or whatever you want to call it. We see in the news all the time. We know that in New York, the homeless veterans there were thrown out of their temporary lodging so that the illegal immigrants could take it. And listen, I know that the Mayor Eric Adams there is torn with what's going on and everything that's going on. He's he might have D next to his name, but what he was law and order with a police captain there, and this kills him. You see him fighting with the governor there, Kathy Hochul in New York every day on this stuff. But this is going on all over the country. Healthcare for veterans. How about we're all aware of the veteran suicide problem that's going on. Put that in there. Provide the mental health. This should be a walk in the door at any VA clinic, or as President Trump did at any medical clinic, and that bill's picked up when you have that problem. Instead, we're worried about, like Tony pointed out, the one thing that's virtue signaling for this guy is going to make him look better at re-election. If you want to do something real, do the Comprehensive Act.
I like it. Veteran suicide is a huge issue. I've known families of veteran suicide. That's going to save a lot more lives and a lot of grief, much more than doing something with gun rights to look good. Couldn't agree with you more.
I want to get this CNT. This is the first one. He's made comments tonight. This is the first one I've got that Coop has made that I've got on the air. We've gotten oodles and oodles of comments. Republicans always have the best bills when they know they can't get them passed. Yeah, that's right on with what Tony was saying.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's see here. And another one again. CNT. Let me go to him again. Most of us just want to be left the hell alone. That's me. I just let me do my thing. I'll let you do your thing, and we'll both be happy. I'll leave you alone. You leave me alone. It'll be a great time. That's my entire political philosophy right there.
That's a Reagan quote, right? The two things Americans want is to protect my borders and leave me the hell alone.
There you go. There you go. I just wish Reagan were better on guns. We're coming up. I don't want to step on Brooke here. I want to have everybody able to jump over to her right as she's going live. So I want to start the process of getting the heck out of here. So Tom, I want you to grab that nice little piece of paper you got there. Tell us about the Firearms Academy of Seattle, would you, man?
Firearms Academy of Seattle is not actually in Seattle, folks. It's not in enemy territory. We're about an hour drive south of Free Lewis County with a 40-acre dedicated facility. We have an updated website with classes on rifle, pistol, shotgun, working to the needs of good citizens in their repairing arms. We just got a bunch of new business cards, and we've entered the 21st century. That's our website, www.firearmsacademy.com. Check it out. See who's coming. Guest instructors, new classes, expanded facilities. I'm really excited.
Very cool. Very cool. Time is Tony. Diversity shoot. What do we got? You do them about every other weekend, right? So we got to have one coming up, dude.
We have one coming up Thursday. We do them almost every 2 weeks. Pretty much we're going to be at the Recoil Range in Monroe, New Jersey, Thursday, 31st, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Visit diversityshoot.com. It will take you to the Eventbrite link where you can purchase your tickets, or go to my page, Simon Says Train, on Instagram, or Simon Says Train on Facebook. Click the link, buy your ticket there. You can also follow me on Second is for Everyone on Facebook and Second for Everyone on Twitter. Yes, we're going to be busy. We've had more events this year than we've ever had in our 8-year history. and 2024 is going to be even bigger. You can support us by making donations too. You can find PayPal links and other ways to donate to us. Help us out. Really appreciate it. And thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely, man. You're becoming you were here last week. I didn't even have to change your I didn't even have to change your lower third underneath you, man. I just popped you right back into the same slot. So, and there's going to be opportunities, guy. You're going to see Tony again. You're going to be seeing him a lot on Saturdays. I love having Tony come aboard. Mike, Arms Room Radio, The Rundown. Anything else you want to plug, bud?
Yeah, let's see. Arms Room Radio, Saturdays 3 to 5 p.m. You can catch us on the live feed on the internet, armsroomradio.com, or in one of the 50 cities around the country that carries us on the radio. Rundown is every day at 6 p.m. Eastern time, the only time zone that matters. 40% of the country lives in the Eastern time zone. Just want to point that out, Paul. Let's see. And GRPC coming up. Hope to see everybody out there, and we have a good time.
40% of the population lives in the Eastern time zone. 47. That may be true, but about 60% of those are liberals, so they don't count. Prove me wrong, as the meme goes.
I'll say 60% live under tyranny. I'll agree with you there.
On my end, this wraps up my broadcasting week. I want to thank you all for joining me. Monday night, Polite Society podcast. Regular broadcasting week, Tuesday through Saturday, with the Bullet next week. The week after that, I do not believe there's going to be a Polite Society on Labor Day. I think we're going to take that as a holiday, and we will do the regular broadcast after that. But at any rate, please do come join me next week, Monday through Saturday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Truly the only time zone that matters. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next